Welcome back, everyone. Hope you're suitably caffeinated and ready for another session. We've got a few bits of different kind of formats within this session. We're starting with a panel session, and then we've got a couple of presentations followed by another fireside chat before lunchtime. At which point in the afternoon, the session's split down the middle into two tracks, so I'll give you some more information on that a bit later on. Hopefully everyone gathered from what I said before that we've had to have a late change on the panel session. So James Franklin from Kia Group, who was originally scheduled, can't make it because he's unwell. So Richard, here and here, has very kindly offered to step in. He's also going to be chairing the tech and process stage this afternoon. So we will get going. So I'd like to welcome our panelists for this session. We've got Richard Adams, who I just mentioned, Head of Digital Architecture at London North and Eastern Railway. We've got Mark Williams, who presented with us this morning. I know a few people missed that presentation due to, well, as you have it, train delays and things like that, weather-related.
Nothing to do with me.
Nothing to do with Richard. And if we can also welcome Netta up on stage as well, Senior Vice President of Group Innovation of Sodexo. So if we can give a warm round of applause for our panelists. Thank you very much. So I guess a good point to start would be to introduce yourself. Obviously, Mark, you spoke this morning, so most people in the room will have an idea of who you are and the angle that you're coming in at. But if you could just give a quick intro for those who joined a little late while Richard ruins the stage.
That, are you?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. Yeah, I'm Director of Digital at David Lloyd. My responsibility is building all the B2C products at David Lloyd, mainly the mobile apps and our website.
Netta?
Yes, hi. My name is Netta Mayer. I'm working for Sodexo for 12 years now. I'm leading innovation for the group. I will tell you a bit about the group in a minute. And for the past 2 years, I'm leading innovation. But I'm in the digital transformation team for 8 years now. Nice.
Richard, if you finished your pyrotechnics display there.
Has anybody got a spare purple shirt? I'm Head of Digital Architecture at LNER. I also consult on the retail architecture at GBR. If you don't know what GBR is, it's Great British Railways. It's the body tasked with trying to simplify and standardise much more of the rail to make it simpler for passengers. LNER is a TOC. A TOC is a train operating company, and we run services between London and Inverness. If you've used any of our trains, you'll know that. We also go to Leeds and places, but basically the East Coast.
Thank you very much. And then a simple, well, not a simple question, but one that kind of defines digital transformation. I think if you ask everyone in the room here what digital transformation was, they'd probably have a unique answer. So what does digital transformation mean to you, and particularly in your role? And we'll work our way back. And Richard, if we could start with you on that one.
Yeah, I think it means everything. In the last 4 years, we have literally transformed our systems from top to bottom. We've gone from tin to the cloud. We've moved from static to event-driven architecture, and we're now exploring machine learning and pushing beyond all that. It means transforming the way you do things. It doesn't matter really about the tech. It's about what you want to get out of it. I think one of the key things early on I learned moving into rail, somebody gave me, when I challenged someone at one of the rail bodies about real-time information, they said, well, we do near time. I thought, what the fuck is near time? You know, when I'm catching a train, I don't want the information 20 minutes after it's left. You know, and there was a lot of that in rail. So we've spent a lot of time transforming it so our customers, if you use our app and website, you start getting information as and when you need it, including information on getting your compensation when we're delayed. Doesn't always work perfectly, but we're getting to the point where we want the service to be able to run itself effectively for you as a customer, so you don't need to stress. You're informed. You've got everything you need in your hand to make your journey successful from when you think of travelling to when you arrive, and that includes either and beyond the trains.
Thank you. And Netta, yourself?
Yes, so just a bit about Sodexo so you will understand the context. Sodexo is a food and facility management services globally. We are always joking that this is one of the largest companies that no one know. We are more than 400,000 employees in more than 50 countries. And we are a very low-tech company because at the end of the day, it's about human services. It's about cooking the food. It's about cleaning the offices. And it's quite an old company. We are almost 60 years old, based in France. The HQ is in France. And digital transformation, it's a journey for us because, as we are a very low-tech company, we needed to discover what digital means for us and what does it mean for our consumers and for our clients and for our employees and for our, operations. So it's a journey. We started it 8 years ago. We are in a very good place now if we compare it to the beginning of this journey. I will be very happy to share with you some use cases today of how digital transformation is looking for us. But it's not only about the food. It's not only about the processes or the services themselves. It's about the whole ecosystem.
Nice, thank you. Mark?
And for David Lloyd, it's very similar to what the guys have said. It doesn't really matter too much about technology, but to sort of bring it to life a bit, digital transformation's changed a lot in the last 10 years at David Lloyd. We didn't have an app 10 years ago, and the reason the app was built was actually to sort of transform some of those manual processes for members. So they used to literally, at 8 a.m., call up the receptions and basically try and book onto classes and book onto course. So digital transformation helped us take that pain point away from reception, make it better for members. And we've kind of gone through those things. We've ticked all of those things off now. But now what we're trying to do is use digital transformation to make some really, really impactful changes. So obviously being a fitness and wellness centre, we're now looking at some of our physical equipment in our gym. So I'm sure most of you have probably been in the gym or seen a gym. You've got the rack and pin machines where you move the little pin from 10 kilos to 12 kilos. And, that's a great bit of kit. Bav's on it nearly every day. But what I'm trying to say is it wasn't that accessible for every member at David Lloyd. The older generations were a bit intimidated by it. So we've been able to use digital and transform the experience into some new fancy kit from Germany called eGym, where basically you tap your card on there and it says, "Welcome back, Barbara. Jump on the machine. You did 10 kilos last week at 8 reps. Today we're going to try 11.5 kilos." And they work around in a circuit. And it's transformed it at David Lloyd for that older audience and that audience that weren't so confident in using the kit traditionally. So, yeah, it's really starting to make a big difference in other parts of our business, a lot deeper than the transactional stuff.
Nice. And the next question is another kind of fully loaded question in a sense that it's asking about what you consider to be the most critical elements that contribute to successful digital transformation. We hear often about huge failure rates within kind of organizational digital transformation efforts, and hear a lot around people, we hear a lot about technology process, but for you, what kind of contributes to the successes that you've had? Is it the people and culture elements being the most important? Is it the technology? Those kind of areas. So what for you has contributed to those successes that you've had largely with the app?
Okay, yeah. It's something we're getting better at, but a bit like the lady from Kimberly Clark was saying, if you have to provide instructions or an instruction manual how to book a PT class or something, you've probably not quite designed it well. So, one of our key metrics is actually, we call it app adoption. So we're trying to get as many members using the app on a daily basis every time they come to the gym. If you look at Apple, for example, when you open an Apple Watch or even a MacBook, there's no instruction book with it. It's just intuitive, you know how to use it. So to answer your question, yeah, we try to make our experiences as intuitive as possible, as simple as possible, as clean as possible, and that sort of helps with adoption. And then we'll layer in the more complicated features later on, if they're needed, to sort of enhance the experience. So basically, start simple and keep it really clean and lean.
Yeah, so like customer focused,
yeah.
User experience.
Yeah.
Netta?
For me, I would say two things. First will be culture and mindset, and the second will be leadership, sponsorship. because I think without those two things, nothing will happen. And I'm overseeing more than 50 countries, and I can tell you that 8 years ago, when we just started our digital transformation journey, we got all the senior leaders from all over the world, and we had like a very nice venue with a conference, and we started to speak about digital transformation, and senior leaders asked us, why do we need digital? We are doing food. So that was back then, and with a lot of different trainings, culture shifts, mindset, communities, we managed to shift the mindset and to get the sponsorship of many of those leaders to become ambassadors for transformation. And I think that without those two things, we would never get where we are today.
Was there any kind of resistance to the in the initial 8 years back?
Of course, a lot.
What were kind of the challenges? How do you overcome those?
I can tell you that there is a story in the organization that the founder, Pierre Bellon, when in the 90s, when he came to the office, he didn't want to see computers on the desks. He wanted it to be, for him, it was, a revolution that he couldn't really adopt. And again, as we have a very low-tech, blue-collar culture, it's very difficult for people before we had this transformation, to engage into this mindset. But again, we put so many cultural mindset training infrastructure that today I would believe that we don't have this resistance anymore.
And sorry to keep going on that. So with you being over so many countries, and obviously there's cultural differences regionally, did you have to kind of tailor it for each region?
Of course. So first, it's a lot about languages. You cannot ask people in, Brazil to speak English because, they don't usually learn that at school. So we had to adapt, especially for our largest regions, we had to adapt languages. But of course, it's about language as well, because Brazil, for an example, is one of our top innovators. And you can see it in the culture. You can see that the cultures that are more, they have the more open mindset. They are always striving to become better, and they very, I would say, early adopters. India, for an example, it's much easier there than, for example, in France, where they are, but they are very laid back. They like their culture. They don't want to change.
Yeah. Nice, thank you. And Richard?
I think the thing that surprised me going into rail just before COVID, I previously worked at places like the Royal Shakespeare Company, Microsoft, Xbox, etc., and I was unsure of what to expect working for a rail company. But actually what surprised me and took me aback was the buy-in from the exec. Rail is structured with a small number of exec directors and a bigger pool of heads of, like myself. And the exec are totally bought into transformation and becoming a digital rail company, and it's as simple as that. If you want to talk to our MD, and lots of people do, you'll find him on social media, and he will talk to you, for instance. He's unless you're asking him about the price of bread. But he will make the effort to. If you've got a genuine complaint, they will sort it out, and things like that. But they buy into the power of it. Another example of buy-in. Yesterday, I was talking to the financial director about a number of data projects. And he just said, yes, this is all really good, let's do it. Yeah? Now, it's all budgeted for in advance in a sense, but, with the mindset of we're going digital. But the fact that somebody can sit there and just empower you to do it as a highly skilled operative, is really liberating. And it is about personal liberation. And I think what LNER has done really well with its digital efforts, if you're any customers here before I say this? Yeah, keep quiet. Yeah. What I think it's done is it has liberated people, because we not only have customers on station, we have colleagues on station. So we have two different sets of needs and requirements. And what you've got to do is empower people to be able to make decisions in the moment. So anybody who's got caught on a delayed train today, nothing to do with us, no fault of our own. It could be the storm, it could be signals, etc. But we have to deal with the human cost of that, which is often anger. And people need to be able to make decisions. And we do empower them. If you follow our social media feeds, for example, they'll not just take it lying down if somebody's been unreasonable. They're very human. And I think that feeds down from the exec through the heads of into the people who work with us, that actually what we're trying to do here is to improve things. We're not trying to put anybody out of work. We're not trying to cause trouble. We just want to make it easier, and make it easier for customers to know where things are, what they need to do, and colleagues similarly. But that buy-in comes right from the top. And the fact that the people at the top actually enjoy this. You know, they don't just see it as an economic necessity. They see it as the future of the business, but they're thoroughly into it. You know, it's quite, well, I use the word liberating. It's liberating for people like me, and it empowers me. And it empowers my team, a couple of whom are sat over there. I'm not over their shoulders, and nobody's over my shoulder. You know, it's just get on and do it. And actually we do that, and we talk to each other, and we just do it, you know? And if it goes wrong, it goes wrong. But it's always little bits that go wrong, and you fix them. Always knowing you're not going to get shouted at. I say shouted at, you know what I mean, in trouble. Whereas in some corporates I've worked in, there's very much a chain of who did this, who did this, who did this, if things go wrong. And as a person from a creative background, finally, you know, my degree's fine art, I'm still painting. The empowerment matters. And I think that matters to everybody. I honestly think if people came in and just said, right, we're going to look at how we do this, we're going to do this, blah, 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 let's do it, rather than just adopting massive programs and introducing huge platforms that then go over cost and fail. Just deal with it on a human level. These people need this, these people need that. But, you know, we've been given the freedom to do that. It's marvellous.
Nice, and then with that, there are kind of lots of tools and technologies available to us as organisations. Are there any kind of standout tools or technology that you use that kind of allow you to effectively drive transformation efforts?
Yeah. New trains.
Yeah. So we'll start with you on that one, Mark. Kind of enterprise tools, technologies, like Richard was saying, platforms, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, a bit like sort of Richard was saying, I think the cloud infrastructure, although it's not the most exciting topic, I'm kind of pleased we've stopped talking about it. Like, you know, it scales on its own, it's resilient, it does all the right things around security. I'm glad we're not having long conversations about the cloud anymore, because, I mean, it just works if you get it right. So I think that, obviously, it takes a bit of effort, but that's important. We focus a lot of our energy looking at tools, and I'm not plugging these guys at all, but we spent a lot of time looking for event-driven analysis software. So we've completely wired up our experiences with a product called Amplitude. It's one of the top products out there for sort of tracking events, doing funnel analysis. But you can actually get some really, really strong insights about behaviors, what they're doing, what they're not doing. You can automatically create cohorts off the back of it. So you can create a bucket of people that start to behave like this and then turn a feature flag on and show a new feature which might be more relevant for them. But the tool out the box is just a bit like Google Analytics. You need to invest the time and energy to actually get it to work quite well. It's even got a machine learning part to it, which we're playing with at the minute, where, for example, you know, somebody, you know, say Bav, for example, might start to behave in a certain way, and he's sort of heading in that direction. We can spot it before it actually happens, and we can start to change the way the app behaves and the way it performs. It's all powered through Amplitude, and it basically collects all of our data, and then we use that data. The one bit I would say is we've been very good at putting it as our definition of done. So when we build software, we put the Amplitude tags in. The amount of effort it takes then to look at the data, to analyze it, and actually use it is another whole piece, which we probably need to be spending more time on to actually get the value out of the product. But yeah, Amplitude's a great product. There's loads of others out there that are very similar, but it's working for us. We just need to put more effort into it.
Nice.
So for me, the platform is not about IT infrastructure. It's about the process and how do we give visibility and sharing knowledge with the rest of the organization. And as this is such a huge organization, we needed something that is really tailored to, to what we do and how we operate. So we worked with a startup called Brainit, and we built what we're calling InnovHub, which is a platform that people can ideate in. So everyone in every language can submit their idea there. But also we are collecting every innovation or digital solution that is happening everywhere. So we kind of have like a bank of initiatives. It could be pilots, it could be POCs, it could be in deployment or just an idea. We ask people to share, but also not to reinvent the wheel. So if I am looking for a solution that is doing that, I can go there and I can look if someone already did that in the past.
And is that online and offline? So kind of.
It's online.
Yeah.
It's online, and it's mobile responsive, and we have 5 languages there. So it's really open to all Sodexo employees.
Because I've seen a lot on LinkedIn in terms of just the offline, like the innovation conferences and coming together. And
Yes.
how's that all set up?
We recently had a global innovation challenge. Maybe this is what we're talking about. If every 3 years we are running a global innovation challenge through all the world, and this year it was about sustainability. We asked all our employees to submit their ideas. We had more than 1,500 ideas submitted. We had regional juries, and we had all these ideas becoming more and more selected, and the finals from each one of the regions, we have 7 regions, they came over to Paris with the board. We had the final jury, and it was a super nice ceremony. But we used this platform also to collect all those ideas, and some of the ideas that didn't win also are going to be developed, because we do believe that our employees are a huge source of knowledge for the company.
Nice, thank you. And Richard?
It was, when I arrived at LNER, Office 365 was new. So there's been quite a journey, I think, in the last 4 years onto digital tools. And I think people are finding tools more interesting that are giving them, this goes back to what I just said, actually, about giving them information in the time that they need it and in the context they need it. So it could be apps, it could be whatever. There's an app we use called Arrakis, for instance, which gives us all service information. So the things you hear announced when the trains are delayed come through on there. And that's incredibly useful for about 2/3 of our employees because they're working with trains. Yeah. In terms of people who aren't working with trains, I think Office 365 must have felt like a liberation when that was first rolled out, but we are now moving way beyond it. And we're having to train people heavily in, well, we've gone with AWS. I'm going to talk about cloud platforms. And we are actually putting people on lots of immersion days on about Redshift and about, all the tools that are available through AWS. And that is simply to let them go with it. So I think nothing specific other than remembering that people need the stuff when they need it in the right context. And we will use whatever tools and platforms are necessary for that, whether it's apps or whatever. I've got about 9 LNER apps on my phone. Customers obviously get 1. But it is all about real-time logistics and information. That's all we are, really, a logistics company. We're just moving you from A to B and trains from A to B to C to D. And that's it. Yeah, I do. I think it's all about how people use it now. I think we've gone beyond these platform arguments to some extent.
Yeah.
Are there any questions from the audience on anything that's kind of been raised or said so far? Yeah. I've lost my mic, so if you could speak up, if that's okay.
I had a question for Netta around the innovation competition that you did. I just wondered if you could give us an example of one that came through and that you're developing.
Of course, with pleasure. So the question, if you didn't hear, was if I can give examples for the winning ideas from the competition. So again, for me, innovation, it's not only about digital. It's about, innovation can come in many, many ways. One of the ideas from the Philippines was to collect the oil that they are using in the kitchens and turn them into soaps, which they are donating to deprived children in very poor communities. So of course, it's a great idea, and we are already working with them to scale this idea. Another one was from Brazil that was about cleaning processes and how we can save a lot of water with a different way of cleaning. And another idea, we had three winning ideas, was about vegetalization of our menus. So how we can convince people to eat less meat, and how we can train the chefs to use less meat and more vegetables.
Was there, yeah. Cheers. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. I'm interested in executive buy-in, and were you lucky enough to just have that, or did you have to work towards it? And if so, how did you go about doing it?
Well, we fell into it by accident in the sense that Virgin walked away from the franchise and the company went back into DOHL, which is the operator of last resort. So we're actually state-controlled at the minute. And COVID came along, and obviously there was no significant change at that. It was just let's hope the trains are running during COVID. But the management team that were managing that arm of the Virgin franchise said, no, we want to try running it. And the vision, I think, back then, 4 or 5 years ago, that was literally we can make a world-beating, digital railway. And to some extent, we're succeeding. We're the first train company to get back above pre-COVID levels. If you go on our trains, they're pretty busy. We're applying, to run Sunday, full timetables on a Sunday, for instance. It's getting to that point. So it's all working, and our feedback scores are good. But it all started with that idea that they wanted that, so they founded the digital team, of which I'm part. So that was the big stake in the ground to say, sorry, rest of the business, this is going to happen. This team has been put together to make it happen. Now, long term, digital team might dissipate into the business, but it needed that kickstart, and that could only come from the top. And so, yes, I mean, I wasn't there, but they must have.
Did that create any them and us in terms of digital team, not digital?
If anybody's read War of the Worlds, you might know that Wells was a Fabian socialist, and he was very anti-imperial. And War of the Worlds, on one level, is an allegory of the British Empire just steaming into places, taking over, and the natives not knowing what the hell's gone off. It was a very Victorian view of things, but it was nonetheless, that's what it's about. And I think whenever you embark on a transformation like that, there's a little bit of that about, oh God, it's the digital team. But that, they're coming around the corner quick, call the cavalry. That sort of thing. But I've had that in other businesses as well, because I've been brought in to do transformation in, for instance, the Royal Shakespeare Company. I actually had somebody say to me, we haven't done things like that for 400 years. It's Shakespeare. And, so you get that. But I think when the management, when the exec are totally behind it, totally part of it, they say yes, and they still keep their enthusiasm for it 4 years later, then it will work. But I think sometimes people at the top in some of the places have been a bit disconnected, and they don't quite empower the middle enough. And I think that's where the fault lies. I think we've been empowered, quite well. We're, the heads of really are, can do what they need to do within that framework. So, probably luck that those people fell into those jobs, really. But since then, the hires have sort of backed that up. You know, and it is spreading. People across the business now are initiating a lot of digital things themselves. We also have an innovation program that anybody can sort of apply to. What's it called, Ed? Future Labs, thanks. Sorry, I'm getting old, my memory's going. In which people are invited to bring small things in and try it out and stuff. And that's all sponsored by the exec as well. So, and that's public innovation in rail with public money. And whatever we do in there can be used by the rail companies or whatever. We're not precious of that. So, yeah, so I think the buy-in, you just sometimes get lucky, is the answer.
So with that, what sort of challenges have you faced kind of on your transformation journey? It sounds like you've got good leadership and buy-in on that, which is, for a lot of people, the most difficult part in terms of getting the buy-in, the investment needed, and skill sets, the belief in kind of throughout the company.
The biggest drag is the rail industry.
So it's the industry itself.
Yeah, because there are centralised things. So, for instance, Network Rail own the tracks and run the tracks, and they operate to Network Rail time. And, you know, you buy slots on it, basically, as a train company, and you agree to run these services. So it's not dissimilar to the way airports run. So you've got to work within the context of that. And then there's regulation. So, you know, the regulated times that we have to deal with things, etc. And sometimes we want to do something and it would break a regulation, so we can't do it. So I think there's a whole mix of things like that. And I think they're the main challenges. I think, on the whole, my experience of LNER is that everybody's pretty much broadly okay with all this transformation. It's just, you know, as long as it doesn't detrimentally affect jobs and things like that, there's, you know, because obviously people are sensitive to that in rail and everywhere. But I think the challenges tend to be in the intersections between us and the wider industry.
Sure. And Netta, yourself, some kind of major challenges that you faced within kind of your efforts?
So I think that now we are in a stage that we are in a good place in terms of how do we operate with digital, and, you know, we just moved to a new operating model. Before that, we were like a guerrilla unit, you know, pushing the business. But now we transformed, and we have a digital data innovation leader for each one of the regions. So these people are, and hopefully, you know, through the time, they will have teams of themselves. This is the way that we can infuse digital data innovation into the business, and also the business to take accountability on those projects. But I would say for us, we have many challenges, of course. One of the challenges is to diffuse new technology, because, you know, every technology that people already know, so okay, you have mobile apps, that's fine, you know, we have this for so many years now, but how do you diffuse metaverse, NFTs, blockchain, robotics? And this is a very, like, we have a lot of pushbacks for those. So usually what we do is we are finding a very good use case in the business. So for an example, we are using robotics in universities in the US to do deliveries. So we have an outdoor delivery robot that in the campus, for students that doesn't want to go to, you know, to buy their food from the dorms, they can have a robot to bring them the food. And with this business use case, we demonstrate the value to the business, and now I would say that they are a bit more open to delivery robots. And we are doing the same, for an example, production robotics for food in kitchens. So we are trying to find the good use case. We are trying to bring the value, and in this way, we are trying to diffuse all the pushbacks.
Nice, thank you. Mark?
I was just thinking about these students. I mean, how lazy are they? That they've
They
got a
are.
That was
robot?
exactly my thought.
I mean, don't they need to get out their dorms? Yeah, anyway.
They should put the food stocks in the same place as the bar.
Yeah, that'll get them out, yeah. I can't remember exactly what the question was, but something I was going to mention around digital, I think when you get it right, you become part of the business functions and it runs really well. Something we're seeing a little bit in our business, and I'm not sure I'm sure some of you guys have seen it as well, is sometimes people default to digital for the answer. So to bring that to life, for example, our group exercise classes were starting to dip in a particular region. People weren't attending, and the people that ran group exercise were like, let's go to digital, let's put a banner up, let's make more classes, let's do this, let's do that. And my boss actually said, hold on a minute, I think there might be something wrong at the core of your product. Are you offering the right quality of trainers? Are the class lengths the right time? Are you scheduling them for the right time for the members? So, when digital gets a place in a company and it's delivering and doing innovative projects and functional projects and run projects, you sometimes have to be careful that people run to you for everything, and sometimes it is okay to push back, is what I would say, and make them sort of sort out their own problems.
I think that's the case with others, with things like timetabling, for instance, and stuff that's still all done manually.
Yeah.
And the reality is there's a great deal of expertise around that, making sure the trains are at the right times for customers. And therefore, digital terms, we can give them information, but we're not going to timetable using digital, not yet anyway.
Yeah, get the AI for that.
Yeah.
Chief AI Officer. Any questions? Anyone want to add anything in? Yep. Just bear with me. Thank you.
Hi. You've all kind of talked about getting leadership buy-in and kind of the adoption at the end with customers. There's a big group in the middle, right? Which is kind of all your staff, your middle management, and all that stuff. How do you get them to buy in? Because that's where we find some of the biggest resistance. It's not actually leadership. They're all for reduction of cost, increased efficiency, kind of return on investment. It's that group in the middle. So kind of what type of challenges have you seen in that regards, and how have you addressed them?
I can answer that in one sentence. Engage them from the beginning. So the idea is not to come with a solution and tell them this is the solution, deploy it. Engage them from the beginning. Give them, the opportunity to think with you, to create the solution with you, to go to the clients and see if the solution is, well fitting their clients as well. So if you put them part of your solution, it will be much easier to get their buy-in.
I think empowerment, I mentioned empowerment when I talked about it. Making people feel like they are included is a major thing, but empowering them to do things. And it could be a simple empowerment, like giving them access to, the Power Apps platform in your office setup and allowing them to make little apps that solve little problems for themselves. But by doing things like that, and by saying, well, actually just go and do it, but do it within the constraints of how we expect you to work. Honestly, people start to buy in, and once you get a current moving, people tend to get sucked into the current and go with it, or leave. But empowerment's not talked about enough. Leadership is really, really crucial. But for me, the best leaders empower you. And that works right down through the column, through the hierarchy. So when I've got my guys who sat over there, I literally don't stand over their shoulders. I'm not too fussed. Just, we know what we're supposed to be doing. Let's do it. And if they want to do something new, we discuss it and they do it, if it's right. I've been in some places where there's been some what's the word? The professional word is micromanagement going off, where nothing will ever change with micromanagement. And there's a lot of businesses with a layer of micromanagement in that needs to stop if you want these sorts of transformations to occur. You cannot micromanage a culture. You can only micromanage a process.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. And then to finish off, this question could go on for a while, so in summary, what do you think are going to be the major trends for organisations moving into 2024? And I know that's a very kind of journalistic kind of question, but just kind of looking ahead, what do you think are going to be the trends and technologies that businesses start to embrace more of, aside from kind of AI, as we move into next year and beyond? And Mark, if we could start with you on that.
Well, I said to you I wouldn't mention AI, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
So for us, it's just for our industry, it's going to be connected hardware. So we're really looking at our hardware, how we can make that come alive, connect it to wearables, help people understand their health. I don't know if anybody's seen, I mean, if you haven't seen it, you're going to see it after I've said it. The Zoe stuff that's been advertised and all the tech around monitoring your blood sugar levels and that whole thing around gut health and being aware of your blood sugar levels and what your body's doing. I think that's going to become really big. Well, it's already big, but it's going to become more and more easy accessible. Fertility, menopause, all those things have become more accessible, and hopefully data and digital can help it a lot more people to consume it as well. But yeah, that's our push this year, next year, sorry.
So I see 3 trends that are, of course, in the Sodexo universe. The first one, very connected to what you're saying, is food as a medicine.
Yeah.
So how do we see food to help us, be healthier? Second one would be around labor. So as we are a very heavy labor company, and there is a huge labor shortage in the world, how can we support with technology our services? So it could be robotization, automation, could be AI as well. And then the third one will be around sustainability. So all solutions that can support food waste, energy savings, recycling, everything around this will be huge for us.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. Richard?
I think for us, it's probably using data to support, in the next year, making much more use of data and information to support decision making in the moment, and also using data and information to help automate processes that can be automated. And I think it's refinement if you think about it, because all the basic tools are in place. So I think it is just refinement of those things.
So more kind of looking at where we're at now, refining it.
Well, I've spent 4 years putting everything in place as platforms. We're just finishing Data Lake at the minute. That's the final sort of platform level thing I want to do. But all that data's got to be used, so people have got to be able to use it in real time to create information that they can use to help them make a decision. So if they want to reroute a train because there's an accident, they need the right information to help them make that, other than their career knowledge. And similar things like that. But then I think also, that same data and information supporting automation. So just making some of the very, very boring manual processes in rail a little bit more automatic, but smart.
Gotcha. Right, Mark, Netta, Richard, thank you very much. That was a great panel, some good discussions. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.